Tucson, Arizona. My name is Andrea, and I'm here with the owner of Seven Cups, Austin Hodge. Welcome to our video podcast. We've invited him because we want to talk a little bit about tea and the tea industry.
Okay.
Right? So many people don't realize, but Yuping and Austin spent several months a year in China selecting tea, and there's over 70,000 producers. So Austin, how do you go about finding the right tea for Seven Cups?
Well, I think there's three important elements that we look for. I mean, first of all, we look for traditionally made tea, and we look for tea that's grown organically and processed organically, and which is pretty consistent with the traditional making.
Okay.
And third, what we're looking for is quality, and we're, unlike most tea buyers, we're more interested in quality than price. So what we want to find, first of all, is the best quality that we can find, and we ask about quality before we ask about price.
Wonderful. And you know, organic products is so popular, people are concerned about health, and how can we ensure that, and how does that work in China, organic products?
Well, when we first started, just around the time that China was joining the WTO, there were only 5 or 6 internationally certified organic producers in all of China, and the organic movement there has really been driven by Europe, Germany in particular, and so the Chinese shortly after that adopted the European standard as the standard for Chinese organics. Now there's thousands of organically certified producers in China, so it's changed a lot in just a few years.
Wonderful. Now we only buy organic teas, but not all of them are certified organic. Why is that?
Well, China, unlike the rest of the world, is the farming is done primarily by peasants, and peasants control a certain small area of land, each peasant family, and in India and Sri Lanka and Africa, there's huge plantations. So it's much one of the reasons that there's so many producers is that in China is that they're small producers. And so an organic certification costs about $4,000 a year, which is quite a lot of money for
a small farmer, definitely.
For producer, yeah. And so it makes it difficult to maintain that, and there isn't a strong market for organics inside of China, although that's starting to grow. So sometimes it's pinched producers pretty hard.
Okay, let's have some tea. And
yeah, thanks.
So yeah, and I know we talked a little bit
tea.
Organically.
Luang Gua Ping from Anhui.
So
the only organic certified Luang Gua Ping.
Beautiful. And I know that we've started an initiative in our business to help some of those small farmers.
Yeah, that's right.
Share that. You didn't pour me any tea though.
Oh my gosh! How rude am I? I'm just thinking of myself as usual. Well, what we're 10% of our profits are dedicated to community development inside of China, and one of the things that we do is we support schools, but we also help to pay for organic certifications. So
that's going to be so you'll probably see in the next next year, and as we continue to grow, that many of our organic teas will get that certification.
Right.
Correct?
And you were asking how we ensure that, because there's anybody with Photoshop can work up a certification, really. And so what we know all of the producers personally, and we visit them personally, and we have a long-standing relationship with them. But this year, the Chinese government passed some very stringent laws in relationship to exporting, that all tea exported must be identified at the source, and all of the chemicals and all of the testing for the soil, all of that had to be presented to the government to qualify the tea to be exported. So they've really stepped up testing. They've really stepped up monitoring those things. What kind of is a reaction to the scandals that happened last year? Not in tea, but certainly
products that have been coming from China. So one of the things that you said when you're looking for tea is, of course, we're looking organically, but also traditionally crafted tea. And some people may not be kind of aware of what that means. Can you share a little bit about traditional tea?
Sure. There's traditional tea making is primarily done by hand, although there are some primitive handmade machines that certainly go along with tea making that have. So when we our best grade of tea is tea that's completely done by hand in a traditional way, and the next grade down from that is tea that's partially done by hand and partially done by these primitive machines.
And I've actually had a chance to look at some of the pictures. When we talk primitive, we're talking about
the pretty
primitive, simple
shakers
or
rollers.
Some stones and rollers. That's what we mean by some primitive tools.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, some of the teas that traditionally making, they've lost that craft, and once it's lost, it's it's like
That's
a language.
Right. That's right. One of the goals of our company is to help to keep that traditional tea making alive, and this year we've been asked to join a new tea council sponsored by the Hangzhou Tea Museum and the Chinese International Tea Culture Institute to help to keep those tea making skills alive. So
wonderful. And so the third thing, obviously, is what we're looking for, and is quality.
That's right.
I mean, that comes down to it. And maybe some other tea that you get is not driven by quality. Can you share a little bit about how the tea business works in terms of that?
Yeah, everything pretty much in the international market is driven by price. The English did a really good job of taking what was a luxury item and turning it into a relatively valueless commodity. And as Chinese varietals have started to enter to the market, names like Longjing become very common, and certainly there are Longjings on the market that aren't even recognizable as Longjing. So there's a wide spectrum of quality that isn't differentiated by name. One thing. So buyers are focused on the price. Now, to give you an example, there's the pre-Qingming tea. There's only a small window of opportunity to pick that. That's the most valuable tea, and and after Qingming, after this short period of time, the tea is worth half of what it was before. So
as an example, like a tea like Anji Baicha, would that be where you can look across the internet or in different businesses where there's a really discrepancy in price?
Sure.
But the quality is not equal, right?
It's not even close. However, it's if you don't taste the teas side by side, it's really hard to differentiate. So what most tea buyers do is look at the level that they can buy that they can convince people that it's the
Higher.
level of higher.
I
That's
see.
right, and certainly we could do that.
Well, I think one of the things at Seven Cups is that we have consumers that are very knowledgeable about tea.
That's right.
And so we don't pass off anything on to our consumers
Right.
because they're very knowledgeable tea
Right,
drinkers.
right, and we have a pretty sharp customer base, and we sell tea to tea connoisseurs in 35 countries, and including China, and we're really dedicated to the best, whatever it costs. That's what we're interested in doing, and we've always been, even though we take some criticism in relationship to our prices, because prices for good tea they're expensive, and
I
nobody's
think-
seen them before.
And I think
so.
people aren't used to, paying that for that quality, right?
That's right. It's one of the reasons we're in the tea business, so we can afford to drink that tea.
So we can drink this on a regular. Well, on that note, we're going to continue to enjoy our tea, and we invite you to visit us anytime here in Tucson at our tea house or online at sevencups.com to learn more about tea and tea culture. Until next time, we offer you fine health. How about good health and fine tea?
Her cha.
We welcome your questions and comments, so please visit us at sevencups.com and we will answer any questions you have about tea and tea culture.